Hebrews chapter 11 is what's known as the Hall of Faith. I'm sure you guys have heard that before, many a times. The entire chapter is basically dedicated to individuals, Moses, Abraham, all the Joshua, Rahab, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, Moses. All of the people of the Bible. That's not listing all of them, but that's listing quite a few of them that are known for their faith. And that's what I want to talk about this morning. I just want to talk about a little bit. And sometimes faith is considered, it's a difficult subject because there's so many different angles and so many different avenues and so many different twists and turns. But I'm going to try and make it simple and just make it short and sweet and simple so that we all can hopefully gain something from this morning. So the title of the message this morning is By Faith. It's found in Hebrews chapter 11, like I said. We'll read a few verses and then we'll dig into this, all right? So the first thing I want to read this morning is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. It says this: "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Okay? Now get that for a second. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. That doesn't make any sense, does it? That's hard to complicate. That's hard to wrap your mind around for a minute. My first point this morning is faith is not logical. Faith is not logical, and it's based basically around that first verse. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith doesn't make sense sometimes. It just doesn't. We don't understand why we're supposed to believe in a God we can't see. Well, I have a question for you. You believe in air, but you don't see it. You can feel it sometimes when the wind is blowing, but that's about it. You have faith to know that you have a brain in your head and organs in your body, but you can't see them. You have faith to know that when a woman is pregnant, that the baby is inside and kicking around and swimming around and doing what the little babies do inside, but you can't see it. It's faith. Faith doesn't make sense sometimes, and yet sometimes it's the one part of humanity that makes the most sense. It's funny like that. Faith is consequently the most confusing and yet the most simple thing ever because it's just pure. It's just pure. Gwendolyn, we had a tree fall down at my house thanks to the wind and the rains and the storms over the weekend. This is the weekend, but over Saturday night, Friday morning, Saturday night, whatever it was. And she gets up on this tree and she's climbing around and she's walking and she's holding Daddy's hand, and then she lets go of Daddy's hand. She has faith to know that Daddy's going to catch her if she starts to slip and fall. Faith. Childlike faith can move mountains. Childlike faith can grow plants. Childlike faith can change countries. Childlike faith can, change the world if we would just practice it. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. How can you show people faith when you can't see it? Well, you do it through your actions. You do it through your speech. You do it through how you practice what you believe in. You have complete trust in something, but for whatever reason, you don't know how to show it to people. Well, that's when you get into your Bible. That's when you read about it. That's when you study about it. That's when you understand and you know that from what you have is complete trust, and you're trying to show it to other people. And it's like this, okay? Faith is defined by Merriam-Webster as the belief and trust in and loyalty to God. It's also defined as firm belief in something for which there is no proof. Isn't that weird? Faith. Okay, faith is not logical. It doesn't make sense. We don't understand it. We never will understand it. But it takes faith to believe that you have faith. Isn't that weird? It's a funky thing how it all works out like that. 2 Corinthians 5:7 actually says this. I'll read it to you. It says, "For by faith we walk, for we walk by faith, not by sight." We travel this world in this day and age, and we go day by day. We go to work, we go home, we go to church, we go on the weekends, we go to football games, basketball games. I hope, Michael, you rack up like 12 sacks and you get a college scholarship. It'd be great. They'll start offering you at the age of like 10, 12. Oh yeah, USC, I can see it happening. Okay? But the point is that faith is something that's hard to comprehend. Faith doesn't make sense because we don't always know how to have faith ourselves. Sometimes it's difficult when you're going through life and you're going through times and your trials. And I mean, right now in America, what is it? 2 days from now, we're going to have an election. People are going to vote, and we're having faith in people that some people will do what's right, and some people will follow through, and some people will go out and vote and cast their opinions on their beliefs in what's right. That's faith. Faith is trusting other people. Faith is trusting in your spouse. Faith is trusting in your children. Faith is trusting ultimately in God. Because sometimes people don't always do what's right, but God can lead people to do what's right. Faith. Faith is not logical. It seems to me that faith means that your beliefs, morals, values, actions, and speech should show evidence to others that haven't seen or want to see it. See, in this day and age, right now, people want to see something. That's why we have all the debates, and that's why we have all the advertisements, and that's why we have all these things going on in this world where people are like, show me the proof, show me the proof, show me the proof. But all we hear a lot of times is just accusations upon accusations, and they get lost. People want to see proof. People want to see something. People want to know. People want to see it. And it's difficult sometimes to see it when we don't exactly know how to show it. So it seems to me, like I said, that speech should show evidence to others that haven't seen or haven't turned away, that have turned away from faith, that it is still real. Faith is as real as you make it. It's a funky thing. Faith is as real as you make it. So what does that mean? Faith is based upon me? Well, yeah, kind of. Everything rises and falls upon decisions. Everything rises and falls upon what you believe and how strongly you believe in it. If your faith tells you that you can go jump off a cliff and live, I would personally think twice. But if you think that that's what is being told of you, definitely look down before you do so. But faith, man, faith is that thing that's still real to people if it's real to you. People will see your faith. People will know that you have faith. People want you to prove it to them. And because of that, it shows complete trust, and which goes back to the definition of something, and that is also defined in firm belief in something for which there is no proof. Faith is difficult. Faith doesn't make any sense sometimes, but yet it's there, and yet we need to have it, especially in this day and age. If we want to press forward and press on, not just for our own country, but for our future, our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, then we got to be able to show them the faith that has brought us through everything that we've been through so far. I'll give you my second point. Second point is this: faith is not comfortable. Faith is not comfortable. If you turn in your Bibles down to Genesis chapter 22, verse 5, it tells you the story about Abraham and Isaac. Abraham and Isaac is a great story. It's a good children's. You've been hearing about it for years and years since you were a little kid. It's very simple. Abraham had enough faith when God said, Abraham, I'm going to give you a son. Well, how are you going to do that, God? Just trust me. I'm going to give you a son. He did. Over the age of 90 years old, his wife gives birth. They have a son, and then all of a sudden, a few years down the road, God says, hey, I want you to take that son, and I want you to walk up on a mountain where you don't know where you're going, in a direction I'm not going to tell you about, and I want you to sacrifice him. Okay? Well, God, you just gave him to me a few years ago, and I don't really know if I want... No, he didn't do that. He showed faith, and he showed uncomfortable faith because it was his God, and he was doing what God asked him to do. Abraham and Isaac is a great story because it shows that God told, verse 5 says this, Abraham told his young man, I will come again to you. Abraham displayed uncomfortable faith. He displayed uncomfortable confidence because he knew that where he was going to come back from. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, where you're going in this life, where you're going, it can only be easier. Want to know why? Because if you look back at the things that you've been through and the things that you've done, what's in front of you is a piece of cake. Think about that for a second. The trials and tribulations, the things you've gone through, and all the stuff that's happened to you in this life, it's all been behind you. It only prepared you for what's in front of you. That's the same concept with Abraham here. Abraham went through years and years and years of trials and tribulations and things and problems. And you know what? God blessed him with a son. And then all of a sudden, God said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make you a proof that faith is real. I'm gonna make you an example that faith really exists. I want you to sacrifice your son. Verse 7 said, Isaac asked, where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Isaac displayed uncomfortable wondering. Sometimes we have to wonder about things. Sometimes you have to question a few things. Because you want to know why? If you take things for face value, if you take things for what's being told to you, well then you're basically just, I don't want to say it like this, but you're just basically eating garbage. Sometimes it's best to do your research. Sometimes it's best to know what's going on. Sometimes it's best to have a childlike curiosity. Why? Because you never learn things if you don't do so. Isaac was uncomfortable because you know what? His dad and him I'm sure they've probably gone out many, many a times and they've sacrificed to God. And all of a sudden Isaac's like, hey, what are we going to burn today? What are we going to kill today? That probably put a little bit of uneasiness in Isaac's heart. Consider that for a second. Anybody in here with children? Anybody in here? I mean, there's children all over. My kids are downstairs. Anybody in here with children? And God tells you that he wants you to sacrifice them. Could you do it? Would you do it? Would you even begin to try? I don't know. I can't answer that question. Only you can. But verse 8 and 10 says, Abraham built an altar, laid his son on it, and held the knife up over the top of him. Now think about that. Isaac didn't fight. I'm sure Isaac was probably a strapping young dude. Because, I mean, he's been working all of his life. He's out in the farm or out in the fields doing whatever it is he's doing, hauling hay, picking corn, whatever it is. He's probably a strapping dude. And he just laid there, let his dad tie him up, and Abraham is over the top of him with a knife about ready to plunge it into him. And then all of a sudden, God says, stop. Think about that. That is uncomfortable faith. That is a faith beyond anything I could possibly try. Anything I could possibly try. It's insane to me to think about that. But you know what? Faith is not comfortable. Faith is not logical. It doesn't make sense. Faith is not comfortable because it's going to put you in places. It's going to put you in positions. It's going to put you in situations where you don't want to be. It's going to put you in a crowd of people that you don't want to be in. It's going to put you with coworkers that you don't want to work with. It's going to put you in places and situations that you're just like, man, Lord, have mercy. How did I get myself into this mess? Faith is not comfortable. But you know what? It's that uncomfortable faith that people want to see you come out of. And if they can see you come through it and hold on to your faith, then that's the proof people are looking for. All right, moving on. Number 3, and then we will wrap this thing up. Faith is not negotiable. Faith is not negotiable. It's like this. You can't walk up to the dealer table and be like, it's not like buying a car and be like, hey, I'm going to give you $22,500, price out the door. And the dealer's like, well, now wait a second. It doesn't work that way. You can't strike a deal about your faith. You either have it or you don't. It's either there or it's not. You're either showing it and you're working with it or you're not. That's the way it is. Faith is not negotiable. Hebrews 11:6 says this, without faith it is impossible to please him. For he cometh to God must believe that he is a rewarder of him that diligently seek him. Now, when that says him, they're not referring to your favorite football player on a Sunday afternoon. They're not referring to, a fantastic basketball player. They're not talking about anybody other than just simply seeking God. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's right. You're not talking about your own strength. You're not talking about your own personal strength, my strength, your wife's strength, your kid's strength. You're talking about God's strength. Want to know why? Because when you seek him, that's what he gives you in return. Without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Impossible felt to be incapable of being done. Isn't that weird? But impossible is defined as felt to be incapable of being done. I'm sure there are projects around your house. I'm sure there are times that you're at your job and people are like, "Hey, I want this done in 15 minutes." And you look at your boss and you're like, "You're out of your cotton picking mind because it is impossible." Well, you know what? Impossible is only a word defined by your efforts. Impossible is only a word defined by your efforts. If you think that you can't, well, guess what? You're not gonna. You've already failed. Impossible is only it's really only an excuse. Without faith, it is impossible to please him. Diligent is characterized by steady, earnest, or energetic effort. Galatians 5:22 gives us the fruits of the Spirit. Want to know what those fruits of the Spirit are? The fruits of the Spirit help to define the things that help you make your faith possible. Long-suffering, patience, all of the stuff. 1 Corinthians 2:5 says, Galatians 5:22, like I said, talks about the fruits of the Spirit. Without those fruits of the Spirit, you don't have anything to grow on. You don't have anything to use. You don't have anything in your ammo, in your arsenal to prove your faith. And then therefore it does make it impossible for people to see it. Faith is not negotiable. You either have it or you don't. You're either willing or you don't. You don't want to. You're either going to do it or you're not. There's no halfway in between. If without faith it is impossible to please, then let our attitudes be so diligent or energetic. Let our attitudes be so full of diligent, energetic faith that there is no need to negotiate. Want to know why? Because God will look down from heaven and he'll say, "Okay, that guy is faithful. That guy, well, that one's on the fence. That lady there, she's good. This person over here. Think about that. God's watching. People's watching. What do they see when you pass away? When your time on this life is over? Are they going to say you were a faithful individual? Are they going to say, "Well, he was always just on the fence"? I don't want that, and neither should you. But then again, I don't know you. Faith is not negotiable. So, if without faith it is impossible to please, then let our attitudes be so diligent, be so full of diligent, energetic faith that there is no need to negotiate. There's a saying that I have a picture of in my phone. It says, "Enthusiasm. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire." I close with this. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be on fire. Right now, there is a world that needs to see us on fire. There is a world that needs to see us that is doing more than just what we're doing. And you think to yourself, "Okay, well, I'm doing this. And that's good. That's great. And if that's all that you have the time for, or all the energy to do so, or that's all that you're able to do, that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to limit yourself or overspread yourself. But we have to be on fire. We need to show people our faith. Want to know why? Because right now, to this world, faith isn't logical. It doesn't make sense. Why do I want it? Right now, to this world, faith isn't comfortable. You're right, it's not comfortable. I don't want to be around those people. I want to be where I'm at, and I want to be who I want to be with, and I want to go where I want to go. So you know what? It's not comfortable. And you know what? People don't want to negotiate for their faith. So they just don't. We got to give them that reason to want to. You got to give them a reason to see it. You got to give them a reason to want to share it. You got to give them a reason. Because why? Because if we don't, then who will? If we don't, who will? Today is a good day. Want to know why? Because it took faith to be here. It took faith to drive here. It took faith for you all to turn your clock back an hour, get that extra hour of sleep, so that you guys could be here this morning. There's a lot of mornings I've been in a church service that people will come in 30 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 45 minutes late. Well, I forgot to turn my clock back. It took faithfulness to do that. So you know what? I commend you all. Thanks for that. Faith, ladies and gentlemen. Faith is hard. It's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. It takes the faithfulness of a few to influence the faithlessness of a lot. And you know what? We are a few who can influence a lot.